morning. Senior Counsel and Minister MCHUNU, good morning to you, and I hope that you rested well enough. I extend my greetings to the staff of Parliament.
Chair, you didn't greet me, I'm hurt.
Okay, I'm still coming.
You're saving the best for last. Okay, no problem.
I'm still coming to greet you, don't worry. The staff of Parliament, the team that is led by the Senior Counsel, and members of the media, the honorable members that I have not greeted because I did random greetings of the parties. You are greeted, all of you, Honorable Thopa, Honorable Kolabanat, Honorable Ngola, Honorable Skosana, Honorable Pambo, and the last person that I must greet so that it becomes emphatic is Honorable Mattheys. Yeah, the honorable member that is sitting next to you will explain what it means. He will interpret to you. They say, "Muja morago ke kgosi." We have two honorable members who are going to join us later. That is Honorable Shongwe and Honorable Sols. So I have stayed true to the commitment. I spoke to the Senior Counsel this morning so that we can be on the trot the time that we agreed. When it strikes, we should be home and dry. So now I'm going to allow you, Senior Counsel and Minister, to run until 13 hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members, colleagues, my colleagues, parliamentary team colleagues, media, and Honorable Minister. Minister, can we just perhaps continue from where we left off? And I was looking at your directive, which is EB4. It's in the bundle, exhibit bundle 3, at pages 49 to 50. You have it in front of you. Your directive. Do you accept that the two reasons that you provided in the directive is at page 50, that last paragraph? You say, my observation in this regard, as indicated above, is that the further existence of the team is no longer required, nor is it adding any value to policing in South Africa. Although those are the two reasons that you gave to the National Commissioner.
Look, there are three directives that I gave. But on this particular one, on the disbandment, I wasn't necessarily getting involved in outlining all the reasons that I had, but this was just an indicator, an indication, if you like, that I could indicate in the letter, but it was not all necessarily, because as you see, this is a very, 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 on all three, they are similar. just an outline that I could squeeze into the letter, because I wanted it to be very concise and not very
So can we accept that these are some of the reasons, but not all the reasons?
yes, particularly.
And then perhaps to assist you, the other one would have been the one you contend was discussed in the November meeting on the organizational structure.
That's why
That was also, so that's not here.
and the budget, the budgetary issues, and the concerns that were raised by the people that I said to you and your team that they need to be afforded an opportunity. So there's to address the Arab Committee. So there's a whole range of issues here, but what I wrote there was merely a high-level summary of what I had as a concern, but the actual reasons, I outlined them yesterday, and for your benefit again, I started off with,
I wanted to summarize that for you. Minister, please understand we do have a time constraint. This is our second day, and obviously you're entitled, and that's the
So as long as-
space we gave you yesterday. You spent a lot of time on outlining your reasons.
as long as we agree that there's a whole range of issues, but I couldn't squeeze all of them there.
I was just addressing to what is here and what you wrote, and what may have been in your mind at the time when you sent the directive. You explained yesterday to the Honourable Committee these other reasons. They've heard you. They will no doubt ask you questions on them. So that is part of the record. Just to summarize, you spoke about budgetary constraints, you spoke about Dahas, you spoke about Mashale, you spoke about Fort Hare, you spoke about Fadil Adams, and then on page 64 of your statement, paragraph 140, you also spoke about some other complaints, which you, perhaps to be fair, you either won't or can't disclose. They may have been conveyed to you in confidence or privately. But in terms of our National Commissioner, who, assuming you were authorized or had the power to do so, to direct that the team be disestablished, what you're telling him is the team is no longer required, it's not adding any value, and that is, as you, to use your words, that is my observation, and then there would have been the other communication of, in the one, and the other meeting we don't have a minute of, the 24th of November.
Yes, and I want to remind you of the new organogram that I spoke about at length from 2019, based on the study, not just the organogram that has just been signed now, but that was agreed.
The 2019 one.
Yes,
Yes.
proceeding up to the new one that on which the organogram that we built on the studies that had been done in the department before that. Yeah.
So those would have been the reasons that the National Commissioner would have been aware of at the time that he received your directive, which would have been, I think, on the 2nd or 3rd of January, a few days after your directive. But he wouldn't have been aware of some of the other reasons that you mentioned yesterday. Would that be fair to say that?
No, I wouldn't have been aware of.
No, he wouldn't have been aware of these other reasons.
Like which one?
Sorry?
Like which one?
No, let me put to you what he would have been aware of from what is in this directive, and the discussion you say that took place in November of 2024, which is before the directive, about the status of the unit and where it fits into the picture, and we discussed that you said, well, it wasn't an express item on the agenda where the PKTT was discussed, but you said it was mentioned, he mentioned it. So he's aware of that, but some of the other reasons like the budgetary constraints, Daas, Mashale, Fort Hare, Fadil Adams, further complaints, you wouldn't have shared those with him.
With,
You wouldn't have shared these reasons with the National Commissioner before the 31st of December 2024.
no, Dehas and Mashala, they wrote these things, the bulk of them last year. And I did have a discussion with the National Commissioner about them, and I think they wrote letters to the Portfolio Committee last year already. And remember that I also said about Mashale, I even referred some matters, her profile to the IGI to say, I keep on getting correspondence from this lady shortly after I got appointed. So I was aware, and National Commissioner did say, oh, now this lady I'm aware about, she has also shared things with me, but she complains, and we look at what she's complaining about, and so on. So I was aware of all these things including, I was aware, and the department, National Commissioner, would have been aware of all these things. I may not have shared everything but with him, but they were aware of them. That includes my reason, my main reason, my argument that we may be dealing with something that is outside the PFMA at the end of the day, as I advanced yesterday.
Well, I'll put it to you, and I don't want to debate it any further. The record will speak for itself. That's certainly not the impression we got from the evidence of the National Commissioner.
No, it's...
He said the sum total of his evidence on the directive is that this came as a huge surprise to him. It was never discussed with him. The last time he saw you and you saw him was at, I think it was a parade on the 28th of December, or 28th of December. Sorry, it was apparently, I'm corrected, a funeral. On the 28th of December, you were there. I think it was in KZN, Kwenazi was also there. And this, it would seem, would have been a perfect opportunity for you to say to them, although it's obviously not appropriate perhaps at a funeral, but to go aside afterwards or whenever to say, gentlemen, you know, I've been grappling with this thing. I've received all these complaints. I've received these letters from Daas and Mashale. I mentioned it to you in the November meeting, and I am now quite convinced that this team should be disestablished.
Now, that was National Commissioner's evidence. I'm here to give my evidence.
Yeah, sure.
And that is not what I'm saying. I am saying after the 28th, I got more time when I got home to complete what I was developing. After, in those 2 or 3 days, after resting and not going up and down, and I started summarizing in my head and getting to think what I would settle with finally, which then gave rise to me writing that letter on the 31st. I may have, on the 28th or before, and you don't normally go to a funeral and then pull people aside. That's unnatural. It can happen only on post-thinking that you could have pulled people aside, but natural in the flow of things, it doesn't flow like that. But I'm saying, there were a number of things that were in my head for quite some time after our meeting on the 21st with deputy ministers, how to approach, how to package, how to engage the National Commissioner. So I had not completed my thinking by that time until I settled down and thought carefully about what I wanted to do.
Well, Even more so, Minister, with respect, I mean, you could have at least mentioned to,
Honorable Mathis.
Thank you. Just on a question of clarity, Minister, did you say you engaged the deputy ministers, both of them, during that time, or did I mishear you? You see, there was 2 days. I heard you say something about deputy ministers. Can I just get clarity, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm speaking about a day when I convened a meeting with the two deputy ministers to discuss what we had been receiving since we got appointed, in what form and what we had done about some of the things that we received, and so on. We had a discussion, and the resolution there said, go and engage the National Commissioner. But we didn't discuss this, the format and the details. So it was left to me to think what I would engage him on and how and all of that. And this is what I say, I ended up with the letter of the 31st.
as I was about to say, Minister, even more so on the 28th, it may not have been an appropriate moment to discuss the demise of the PKTT when you've just buried one of your soldiers.
Senior Counsel, there is a hand of Honorable Nomvalo behind.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I just want to have a clear understanding of the response that has been given by the Minister to the question about the reasons. Is the Minister saying the Commissioner was aware that part of the reasons that led to the disbandments is what was written by Mary Diaz? Or he says the Commissioner was aware that Mary Diaz had written something like that, but he was not aware that that which she wrote was not part of the reasons that led to the disbandment? Because knowing that Mary Diaz had a perspective and that her perspective constituted the reasons for the disbandment are two different things. So I just need a clear distinction on that. What response is he giving to the council? Was he aware of the perspective, or he was aware that the perspective of Mary Diaz formed part of the reasons for the disbandment? What was the response? I just need clarity on that.
Minister.
Thank you very much. I am saying, when I settled down in those 2 or 3 days, I brought back everything that I had come across since I had been appointed. What do I do with these things? Because I had to weigh them and say, what do I do with them in order? Remember, at the top of my mind is the imperatives of the 7th administration. It is the safety of the people. It is the concerns that I raised with the National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners, and Provincial Commissioners in November, when we met them at Give It Screw On, saying, I'm being haunted by murders, the high rate of murders, the proliferation of firearms in communities and the havoc that these firearms are causing, and the drugs that these things are causing. So I kept on thinking about these matters very, 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 very hard and very, very to the best of my ability in terms of thinking. And I then say, settle down. What do I do with all these things that I've collected in my capacity as Minister of Police on behalf of the people of South Africa? I then Mary Diaz's letters and concerns, Mashale's letters and concerns and everything, the budget, how we are using the budget, and possible alternatives of using the budget. the work within SAPS that started way before I arrived and what could have been done and so on. All that bundle of things constituted what I settled down on and said, let me write a letter and it must take this particular form. And I did indicate yesterday that one of the things that came into my mind was to say, when the year starts, how do we start in a manner that brings about vibrancy along the lines that constitute expectations of the people on us in a way that will cause us and force us to, engage. And this thing is about change. How do you go about changing some of the narratives that should change within SAPS in favor of the people of South Africa, consolidating their safety? That is the matter. That was not just anything that Mary Dehaas wrote, but how do I bring all those things as a collective so that they are put in a manner that constitute my reasons when we met. So this is just a high-level summary on the two issues, but the breakdown of those matters is what I have submitted here.
Are you fine, Honorable Member?
Not really, Chair, but I think as it continues, maybe I'll be fine.
Okay.
But I'm not fine.
Just carry the question on your shoulder. And at the right time, you can offload it. Senior Counsel, you may proceed.
Minister, all these things weighed heavily on your mind. All these factors, you say, they weighed heavily on your mind. All these factors, not just the two that's mentioned in your letter.
Yes, all these matters, they constitute the actual material things behind those two sentences that you see, or one sentence that you see in those two terms.
Okay, so you don't record that in the letter to say to the National Commissioner, there's a host of issues that weigh heavily on my mind and that concern me. But in summary, I've concluded that the team is no longer needed because it's not adding any value to policing in South Africa. At least one leaves it open-ended for you to come back and say, okay, what were these things that weighed heavily in your mind? We don't get that impression from your letter. Now, we discussed the letter yesterday, and you spent quite a bit of time explaining yourself. So and you also accepted that you could have phrased the letter differently.
Not necessarily. You remember, you went a long way yesterday on the tone of the letter yourself, and you even suggested
And you
a
agreed
different.
that you may have.
Let me finish. You suggested a particular format to me, which was the same thing but in a different tone. And I said to you, well, you are putting that in the way you are putting. And then I said, Singakhalisana, I could accept that that could have been a different tone, but it doesn't change anything in terms of the content of what I wanted to convey to the National Commissioner, except that the tone could have been softer.
And
but not that there's anything wrong with my letter legally and constitutionally, and in terms of what I wanted to convey.
And you say you accept full responsibility for this, what's in the letter and the directive that you issued.
I don't want to leave any doubt
Yes.
in
Okay.
terms of who wrote the letter and why was the letter written. I therefore take full responsibility.
No,
of
that's
the letter.
exactly why you're here.
Yes.
Because the committee is holding
and
you
want
to account.
Even assure you that I was sober
Yeah.
when I wrote this letter.
I don't think anybody ever suggested that you were not,
Yes,
although it's that time of the year
yes,
that I can't quite remember what.
yes,
But yeah, we never suggested that, you're a minister of state
Yes.
and we expect you to be of sober mind,
yes,
especially over this period when you're Minister of Police, when
Yes.
there's lots of
yes,
tragedy and killings and so on. So that's fair comment, and I don't think anybody suggests anything else.
yes,
Maybe the tone would have been different had you had a couple. Yeah. So anyway, on a more serious note, is it also your evidence that you were not assisted at all with this letter? There was no one else who did a draft, or did I recall you saying that your advisor may have assisted?
yes. In terms of contribution to the letter of substance, it was me and Advocate Pikole.
Okay.
And then the chief of staff was merely conveying, not contributing in any manner on the wording and on any other aspect of the letter.
Okay.
It was just me and the special advisor,
Just you and mainly you and Advocate Pikoli.
Advocate Pikole, yes.
Yeah. So when Lieutenant General Nkonazi tells us that Ngabindi told him that I think he mentioned quite a few drafts were exchanged. He was waiting for the final draft. Would he have referred to the exchange of drafts between you and Advocate Pikoli?
Well, I don't know what General Mkonazi was talking about.
No, he was talking about what Nkabinde told him.
Yes, I don't know what they discussed, whether they discussed up to that. I did have a conversation with Chief of Staff in terms of the substance of what they discussed, and he gave me a different version, which I will go to later on. But what I do know is that they did speak.
So, just to round off on the directive, at the time, had you sought or been given legal advice on whether you could issue this kind of directive?
At the time of right, or
At the time that you drafted and wrote this directive with the assistance of your
I
special
didn't-
advisor?
I didn't go wider than the special advisor because he happens to be an advocate, to say, what is your first impression on this letter in terms of the Constitution and in terms of legislation? And he didn't doubt, he had no doubt that it is within the Constitution and it is within the legislative framework.
Because it's apparent from the letter that you, at the time when you drafted the letter and signed the letter, that is your signature there, is it?
My signature?
Yeah, there at the end of the letter.
Definitely, it's my signature.
Good. So at that time you accepted that you need to provide some reasons to the National Commission as to why you're issuing this directive.
Yes, but let me just indicate something that will interest you and the other comment. I wrote the letter and as I wrote, and after completing the letter, I was envisaging a meeting, that is the letter where we would discuss, have a first discussion. That's why I put a date on the 20th to say, forward me with kind of an interim response, and then a fuller engagement at a later stage at UNESCO. I was firm and clear that we would need to discuss some aspects. But those things were somehow, or to a great extent, affected by what I will talk about later. But as I said yesterday, I didn't envisage my directive as a drill. I mean, in the context of a drill situation. I envisaged it in the context of what happens in a work situation when you are at work with the Director General, that you do engage, even on difficult matters. But I'm aware that it then brought in a difficult situation. But when in a work situation, a difficulty arises, that's where you get the best in terms of how the people you work with behave. That's where they get an opportunity to display even what is internal within them. Not when there's you have a normal situation at work. A lot of things get suppressed in terms of you knowing exactly the kind of people that you work with.
But the people you work with, and especially whom you give, if you're in a higher position of authority, the way they behave and the way they respond would often depend on the way you address them, isn't it? And the tone of any letter or instruction or directive, the way it's written.
Not necessarily. It doesn't. There's a difference between reasoning things out and the way you respond to a situation emotionally. There's a difference. I'm not talking about emotions. I'm talking about substantive reasoning when you have matters before you, how you react at that level of reasoning and rationalizing on things. And I am certain that I dealt more on the aspect of rationalizing things out with a view to bringing something that would change the way in which South African Police Service render services to the people of South Africa, towards improvement, towards realistically responding to the concerns that people raise throughout, including the portfolio committee. Beyond saying we have noted your concerns, we are noting your concerns, but we end up not doing, in essence, not doing anything that would change their concerns. And I'm lighthearted when it comes to what people have to say to you in terms of their expectations as a minister at a national level. They have huge expectations. And I'm saying this in a situation where perceptions are very, very, very strong outside that we're not doing enough for their safety in South Africa. So you are on the spotlight. You have to think even beyond what is happening. I mean, you can't just keep on saying, yeah, the budget is small. Yeah, the number of police has been reduced. We should be having 200. Those reasons are fine. You can advance them ordinarily when you talk because they are true. But when you sit down and think and reason deeply about your responsibility and people say, you don't seem to be doing enough. Look at our police station here. Looking at the equipment, even people inside SAPS saying, we are behind criminals in terms of equipment and all of those things. Minister, make you think seriously.
So, Minister, all that you're saying, it seems to me, demanded a serious discussion with the National Commissioner for all the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah.
It seems to me to demand a serious discussion.
Yes.
And consultation.
Yes. And this is what we've been doing throughout the period after I got appointed.
There's a fundamental difference of view of the evidence that we've heard today. And for example, the two key people involved in this task team were never ever consulted about it, and that is Kumalo and General Nkwenazi. They are the two people directly concerned. I mean, this directive, it doesn't even speak directly to this organogram or the structures in the police. It is directly aimed at three things: ports of entry, intelligence, and political task teams.
Yeah,
So I don't know who you speak to about ports of entry, maybe Home Affairs and maybe speak to them, because they also have a role to play there and they should be consulted. Of course, intelligence, there's nothing that we hear from you that they were engaged or that the director of intelligence, who also happened to be Kumalo or Sabia, that they were engaged in all of this. There's no indication from you.
now, don't be under the impression that when I got appointed, the next thing I did was to write directives. And the next thing that happens, I'm in the commission, I'm in the ad hoc committee. It didn't happen that way. You may have just been introduced in the situation and the challenges that we're having, but we had many discussions since I got appointed. I did indicate that the orientation which got elevated to discussions, which got elevated to decisions, took place. I've had, before leave, more than 28 meetings, more than that, with the leadership of SAPS, and more than 9 meetings with National Commissioner alone. Now, it's another thing to say, what were we discussing? But I'm making it sound serious that I've had those meetings. And throughout those meetings, we were discussing serious stuff, serious issues. All of these things that you're mentioning, that Kumalo, National Commissioner, we have had discussions with them, even on just intelligence alone. And therefore, all the matters that are in my directive or in my directives were discussed. What was not discussed with them is the directives themselves. I have said I didn't discuss directives with anybody else before I wrote them. I wrote them, but the matters that constitute substance behind each of those directives are well known to the people that you're mentioning.
Well, can we just leave it there? And I'm sure honorable members of the committee will ask you more on this, but there's just fundamental disagreement that you, at any stage, discussed specifically the political task team and your thoughts about it before the directive was issued on the 31st of December 2024.
I have indicated very patiently that I could not discuss these directives with anyone for reasons that I've advanced. One of them, I've indicated that some of the people that are involved here were people who raised fundamental concerns with their safety. And I had to think, how do I, on one hand, bring them on board, and on the other hand, process their situation, which was convincing to me, was a fundamental issue to me. How do I combine the two? That's why I said at the beginning of the year, there was some thoughts about an inquiry, a ministerial inquiry, because I couldn't ignore those things that they discussed. So I have made quite a serious attempt to convince you that I was in no position to discuss the actual directives with anyone before I wrote them, nor did I have the opportunity because I was working and then I had only 2 or 3 days. And that when I did so, there was nothing constitutionally wrong, there was nothing legislatively wrong, and I checked that. But I do want to say to Evidence Leader, Senior Counsel, National Political Killings Task Team is not all about policing in South Africa. It's not everything about policing in South Africa. There is a lot outside there. In fact, everything outside is, I don't have an English word. It's just part. Remember, this is not even a unit. It's a team. How much importance do you can't say it's a national priority, work done by a team, important as it was, and having contributed as they did, but it's not, it can't be made a national priority on policing in South Africa amid the challenges that we have.
Now, Minister, your lawyers responded to a request for information that we put to you, and there was a response on the 1st of October. Sorry, it's the response you'll find, it's at Exhibit Bundle 4, pages 1 to 13. And amongst the responses is at page 4, under the heading Relevant Facts Preceding the Disestablishment. So the first one was on 31 October, several letters of complaint from Ms. Mary de Haas. On the 6th, there was again an official complaint that she registered with the Portfolio Committee on Police. Then you referred to the emails and text messages from a former SAPS official, Ms. Patricia Mashale. You also took into account media reports involving, regarding the involvement of crime intelligence in the murder of politician Mr. Sindiso Motaka. Then on 13 November, a complaint to the NPA from Member of Parliament Mr. Fadil Adams. And then you say on November, your Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabindi, addressed a letter to IDEC regarding the allegations made by Mr. Adams. And following the above detailed complaints, on the 21st, you convened a meeting with the Deputy Ministers of Police to discuss the allegations. Then further on, you also mentioned on 22 November, you convened a meeting attended by the Deputy Ministers, the National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners, and all the provincial. Although you do indicate here, the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the Ministry's deep concern on, namely, the murder rate, escalation of firearms, including illegal firearms, drugs, and GBV plus F, gender-based violence. There's no mention here of you discussing the political killings task team, and then you go on to mention budgetary complaints and the work study. So many of these things mentioned in this information note from your lawyers incorporate some of the reasons that you discussed yesterday. Now, firstly, they're not in your directive, your letter, as some of the reasons, and also there's nothing in here which tells us that you had consulted or specifically spoken about this to either the National Commissioner or Mkhwanazi or Kumalo, who were heading this task team. What is interesting in the note, you say a decision was taken at the meeting on the 21st of November that you held with your deputy ministers, that the minister would engage the National Commissioner on the concerns regarding the allegations against the NPKTT. And then there's nothing after that. On the 22nd of November, it wasn't discussed in the meeting. So on this note, can you confirm that you did not discuss it with the National Commissioner before you issued the directive on the 31st of December?
That I didn't discuss the directives with him.
No, not the directive. Some of the reasons that inform your decision to issue the directive.
No, I didn't discuss the directives with anyone, including.
No, we accept that. I'm not going to argue with you about whether or not you had the prerogative or the right to issue the directive. I'm discussing what informs the directive, and we've been through the directive. There's two reasons that's apparent from the directive. You then also mentioned that there's other reasons that inform the directive. You mentioned that you have a full opportunity of explaining that to the committee. I'm asking specifically about discussing your reasons for wanting the task team terminated with the National Commissioner and with Mkhwanazi and Kumalo.
Now, I have indicated many times yesterday, I did, that the directives were an accumulation of issues that we had been discussing and things that had been things that I'd been getting to know in the department. In other words, when I was appointed, I didn't just circle on the 31st. There were many discussions. There were many things that I read and that I got to know in the process before. So they were, and throughout the period, I've been discussing with all the people that are involved, but not with the intention that one day I would write a letter of directives. So it's absolutely not correct to say I had not discussed with this. And on the three generals that you are talking about,
Sorry.
now, your assistant keeps on engaging you when I speak. When you speak, she doesn't engage you. I don't engage with anyone.
No, sorry. My apologies, Minister.
Okay.
You're right. You should be.
Okay. So the impression I'm getting is that my response is not important, but what you say to me is important. And I have a problem with that. So I'm saying, I did say yesterday, I did not have any particular meeting with General General Masimula, General Mkhwanazi, and General Kumalo. And in a day focusing on the National Political Killings Task Team. There's no such. But discussions include that fall within all the terms of reference. And discussions about this did take place in the meetings that we had. One of them is on the 1st of November. One of them is on, I think, the 22nd of November, the minutes of which I didn't get. I'm still seeking. So it's not like I never had any discussion with anyone on the matters. These are challenges that are within SAPS. These are challenges that we've been discussing. These are challenges that everybody in the top management of SAPS is aware of and had been discussed, but not with a view to writing directives. Those are mine, and those I sat down to think about, and I came up with them, as I say.
Minister, I was asking you about your response, which I must accept and assume your lawyers were instructed by you. And in your response to us on the 1st of October,
Yes,
there is no mention, despite the fact that you held a meeting with your deputy ministers to discuss the allegations and other issues in the South African police,
yes,
despite the fact that there was a decision taken according to this note at that meeting, that
yes,
the minister would engage the National Commissioner on the concerns regarding the allegations. Despite the fact that your lawyers write on the 22nd of November that there was a meeting
yes,
between the ministry, the National Commission, and all the senior police, you never discussed the task team. This is is this note wrong? Is there a mistake? Because it doesn't accord with what you told us yesterday and what you are insisting on today, that you discuss this matter at least with the National Commissioner. You seem to today even to be saying you discussed it ever with Nkonazi or Kumalo.
If the letter does not necessarily pick up the meeting of the 1st of November and the meeting of the 22nd, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist. It doesn't mean that it never happened. And it doesn't mean that we never discussed it. It just means that there was an omission in the letter.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not referencing the letter at all. I'm referencing a response that was given to us as evidence leaders by your lawyers on the 1st of October. And there's nothing in this response which says that you consulted or had a meeting one-on-one with the National Commissioner about the allegations concerning the task team. This is what this is. The other thing also, I might as well, while I raise this, that the note also doesn't say, is that, and by the way, this team operated illegally since 2022, because you know what, in terms of a 2019 work study, you know, this is just a temporary task team, and I had full authority under the Constitution and the Police Act to disband it. That's also not what this is. That is what I'm asking you about. So I'm asking you, is that an oversight? Is that not what your instructions were? Can you tell us why is there a discrepancy between your evidence of yesterday and today and this note which comes from your lawyers?
Well, I don't have sight of your letter in terms of what you wanted from us by the 31st. But even if I have, if there was an omission, I'm ready to admit that there would have been an omission. But today, I have a submission. I have a submission that I've made to the ad hoc committee, and I've included everything that is at my disposal, understanding fully that I'm in front of the ad hoc commission, and we've done work with the lawyers. We've already pointed at some of the discrepancies anyway in the letters and all of that during some earlier submissions, and I have no problem with that. It would mean that it would have been a discrepancy, but we are in the ad hoc committee, and I've tried my best to remember everything. That includes, by the way, even matters that you didn't ask us to bring to your attention at the time that you demanded or you requested information, which I will make available in the course of this engagement with the ad hoc committee, even though you didn't ask for those. And I'm sure you'll understand and bear with us if there is any discrepancy.
Well, quite frankly, that doesn't matter whether we ask for it or not. When you have an opportunity, I'll read our letter to your lawyers now. But the response is a detailed response from your lawyers.
Today,
It's a detailed response, and you have it in front of you. It's on page 6 of Exhibit Bundle 4. And I'd be, and especially that I also happen to know and have huge regard for your lawyers who are advising you in this matter, that they wouldn't mention. They don't mention anything about having a consultation with the National Commissioner. This is what we asked. Request for information. It is dated, what's the date? Yeah. It's dated, request for information, the date, time, and people who attended the briefing or briefings to the Minister on the political killings task team. We mentioned. Time of the meeting, there was one it's 21 November, we met with the deputy ministers. The affidavit, the affidavit submitted by the minister to the ethics committee, which we will have a look at in respect to the 5th March committee hearing. The evidence leaders first requested this information on 12 September 2025. Request for written responses. What, in the minister's understanding, is the constitutional role of the Minister of Police as against the National Commissioner, which has been explained. A chronology and summary of the complaints received in respect of the PKTT and, where possible, documentary evidence of such complaint. You've got the Haas, you've got Mashale, you've got Adams, all those things. Were these complaints directed to the relevant persons, and were they given an opportunity to respond or address the complaints? If so, who are the persons to whom the complaints were directed? We talk about Nkabindi's letter to IDEC and the referral of the complaint. Did General Nkonazi make an attempt to contact you after the directive that you issued on 31 December 2024? So those are the questions that we asked, and these are the responses. And what is missing from this response is any meeting or engagement with either the National Commissioner or Nkonazi or Khumalo about the political killings task team and your concerns about it, which has by now already been informed by Dahas, Mashale. You had a meeting with your deputies on the 21st of November. You talk about a decision, not even a suggestion. A decision was taken by you and your deputy ministers that you would engage the National Commissioner. And you didn't. Or are you saying you did, but it's now missing from this response from your lawyers?
now, I want to repeat in my response that if I didn't include, or we didn't include in our response to you, any issue, for instance, about the decision that we took or the resolution that we took, it does not mean that we did not resolve, as I say in this submission to the ad hoc committee. We did resolve in the manner that I'm saying in my affidavit today. If it was omitted there, it means there was an oversight. That's number one. Number two, if we didn't include the meeting of the 21st and the 22nd, it would mean that it was an omission, or it would mean that we were still trying to get information on that, but we always knew that that discussion did take place, but we just had to submit evidence to you to say we did have a discussion, even if it was not a day, even if it was not with the three generals, but we did have a meeting or meetings that we discussed, and we have shown evidence, we've given you evidence of the meeting of the 21st. And we say there was another meeting, we may not necessarily have access to that in terms of documents, but it did take place, and it is true that it did take place. Now, we may not have indicated everything in our response at the time, but we acknowledge that we have tried by all means to make an effort to bring everything we are aware of to my statement, not just to that response at that time, to the statement to the ad hoc committee, which we have tried to make as inclusive as possible of everything to the best of our ability. And I think that that would be my statement, that there may be an omission of one kind or the other, but it doesn't mean that what we are bringing today should be disregarded in any way.
Okay. So this is not quite a court case, so I'm not going to engage you any further. I've put to you from our side what our understanding is from the evidence that's been led so far. You've given your version. I'm just going to leave it there, okay? Now, on the, again, your engagement on the first, this was what is called a follow-up meeting, and I'm referring, sorry, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Exhibit Bundle 4, the Minister's follow-up meeting on HRM matters on the 1st of November, including the organizational structure. And the reference is at page 164 and following. And at that meeting, so again, firstly, this is not a focused meeting on the political killings task team. You accept that? This is perhaps a meeting where does the PKTT fit into the organizational structure? It is not about what have you been doing since your establishment? Has it been a success or not? Is it time to terminate it or not? This is just where it falls in, and this is then what you are recorded as saying, and it's on page 3 of 15 at the bottom. The Minister indicated that there must be reconsideration and review of certain capabilities such as the political killings task team, which are primarily about addressing serious crimes. He stated that SAPS should guard against creating structures or units based on specific category, which, whilst these duplicate existing capabilities. Ministers directed that the presentation should have a narrative to the relationship between provincial commissioners and deputy national commissioners. They must explain their roles and their constitutional legislative imperative or composition. Then at the bottom of that page, General Masemola indicated that the matter of provincial commissioners was resolved some time ago, and that there's a dotted line to the deputy national commissioners. And then later on he says, he gave an example, he further explained, the very last sentence on page 3, he further explained that a political killing capability that is in place in the form of a task team and not a fixed unit or establishment. So that, Minister, appears to be the sum total of what was mentioned at the meeting and what was discussed. And then further to that, yesterday, you took us through this document on page 178, which is the organizational structure, which is this document that you took us through yesterday, that was also on the board. And it appears from this document that the political task team is not, it doesn't feature. It features under another category, murder and robbery and so on. So I think we need to round off on this point now. About you, we say, not engaging, let alone consulting the National Commissioner and or Lieutenant General Kumalo, Lieutenant General Konazi on the political killings task team. Not at all. Or
No.
are you just maintaining that you did?
No, do you want me to respond now?
Yes, just so that we can round off this topic.
I want to contest that, and I've contested that. I am saying there is evidence of discussions and decisions as from 2019 on the political killings task team. That was long time before I came. It took the form of a new organogram with specialized units in subs, which were meant to focus on specific issues regarding crime, fighting crime in South Africa that was in the offing at that time in the country, and a structure which was a change in terms of subs, was designed and it was put there following a study. It took some time before that study was completed or even that structure could then be implemented. But at some point, and in the process, there were then extensions on the work of the political killings task team. And it took that form. But there was already a view, a very strong view, that the political task team, National Political Killings Task Team, is a temporal structure. It's not a permanent feature in the Constitution, in the organogram. Even at that time, as early as that time, 2019, a year after the Political Killings Task Team was there, and long before I came. And then the structure was there. And then last year, we start discussing the organogram. And we pull up everything, all the things that I'm talking about. And we come up with the organizational structure. And this organizational structure bears features of what had been discussed in the work study from 2019 to a great extent. I even said, take note of the fact that the new structure that has been signed, which we started last year, has ORS. Take note of that. Separated now from VISPOL, and that's a new development. But they did say it was at one point there, but they did away with it. And I said, take note of the fact that we have removed the police inspectorate in the new organogram. And take note that there is political killings task team as a sub-unit in the new organogram, just like it had been recognized during the work study that you must have units now in a coordinated way. The signed organizational structure, if you have it now in the form that it is, but you keep the current structure, or you keep the team, the National Political Killings Task Team, you will overstretch, irresponsibly overstretch your budget unnecessarily. That's one. You will duplicate functions within the organogram. 3, you will have people who will not be used or will not be utilized. Now, these are people called people within the serious and violent crimes unit, which has been created. And it will have an impression, it will also overlap to organized crime unit, which is there. But you still keep one other temporal structure outside the organogram, which is approved and which is budgeted for. And my argument is that it will not be responsible. It will not be rational to do so, because the structure already provides for that. And worse, it provides for that, including in the Eastern Cape, including in the Western Cape, including in Gauteng, not just KZN, the 4 provinces that are heavily affected by crime. So you won't have to take 10 people from KZN to go and assist in Gauteng. You will not have to have Fort Hare incidents, Fort Hare-like incidents, and then you go and say, I'm borrowing people from KZN. Why would you do that? You will have a sustained and sustainable organizational structure operated by us at a national level. And to me, that makes sense, and it will work better. And the current budget that we are using for a separate, standalone National Political Killings Task Team will be infused and will be utilized and evenly distributed throughout the country. To me, it makes absolute sense to do so.
Okay.
And it is responsible to do so. And it will cater for our needs all over. And especially if you put in the new division that we're talking about to assist subs, uniform, and to assist even the units that will be functioning in those 4 provinces. But the structure provides for functionality and existence of those units in all other provinces. And I'm saying to you, Central, we do not exist as South African police to just investigate incidents of killings for councillors. We don't. There is no such a mandate. It is, SAPS has to serve everybody. Even if you've got to make sure that the resources of the country are used to the best of your ability to protect the people of South Africa, not a particular group of people. Not. It is not like that. And we've got to tackle this particular issue, that there are no better lives than the others who are equal in South Africa. So you can't have a task team solely dedicated to a particular grouping of people somewhere, and not, if you have to have a taxi violence unit, it must be everywhere where there is tax violence. And this structure is designed to have just that. You're not going to have a structure for taxi people in Mpumalanga alone, and you say, whenever there's taxi violence in Western Cape and also, you will borrow people from there. And I'm saying, I'm answering to the imperatives of the 7th administration, and that is what it says. And they're different from other imperatives in any other term. So I am here to share information and to the best of my ability, what I've come to understand in terms of my responsibilities, not just to justify what I found there, but to change and make things better. I'm not here to justify that that which is there, I'm not able to tamper with, even though I have power to do so for the betterment of the people of South Africa. I can't agree to that.
But do you accept, Minister, that even if or where you have the power, this huge responsible power
Yes.
to change things for the better of our country and for our citizens,
Yes.
that you also have to consult with people before you exercise that power, the people who are directly affected when you exercise that power. For example, to shut down a political killings task team that our president thought in May 2018, not thought, he came here. He said the political killings, not because he was discriminating or treating killings in KZN different from killings elsewhere in the country. He said this has become a problem and I need a dedicated approach to resolve this problem. It
Yes.
does so. No, can I now speak? So this problem is addressed by the formation of a political task team. He appoints an interministerial committee. Now, we're not going to debate the legality, constitutionality of whether you could disband it or not. But there is the committee. Colleagues with you in your cabinet. Did you not think it was important to engage with them? There is absolutely no indication from your lawyer's notes, from your statement, from your oral evidence here yesterday and today, that you engage with them to say, colleagues, this is now weighing heavily on my mind. It's already heading towards the end of the year. I feel like writing a letter on the 31st of December. Can we discuss this? You discuss it with your deputy ministers, but you don't discuss it with your other ministers. Key players, Minister of Intelligence, Minister of Defense, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. These are the ministers that form this group. So even if it's a political structure, and even if the task team, according to you, were acting under its direction and it was a political issue, even more reason why you should have consulted with them and engaged with them. Why didn't you?
Now, I just a question first. Are you suggesting that we must ignore the meeting of the 1st and the meeting of the 22nd and remove it from my evidence? That it doesn't exist, even though I say it does exist?
I'm not going to remove anything.
Okay. Let me
Whatever you
answer
have
that.
said here yesterday, whatever is on paper is part of our record and it
Okay.
will be taken into account when
I'm
an
happy.
evaluation is made
I'm happy.
by me, by other honorable members of this committee. They, of course, have minds of their own. They're going to evaluate the evidence. I'm asking you a specific question, and I've directed you to the fact
Okay.
that there was this committee, this interministerial committee, and there's no indication from you on your evidence, not discarding anything else, that you had not engaged with your colleagues.
I am happy, Cedar Council, that you recognize the meeting of the 1st of November. I am happy, Senior Council, that you recognize the meeting of the 22nd where these matters were raised. But in answer to you, there was no dedicated day, there was no dedicated meeting to discuss the National Political Killings Task Team before I wrote the letter of directives. But I am putting it that the directive does indicate the need for a meeting on the 20th of January, that is after, to discuss in the form of a report. I am saying there was also an indication for the need to discuss in the UNESCO later in January. So those matters were recognized, and I'm saying this is a political task team in SAPS, and don't equate it to policing, overall policing in South Africa. to make me feel guilty that I didn't consult on the team, specifically in a dedicated manner, in a day. Don't make me feel guilty, because I'm not guilty for that. There are many other things that I needed to do and that I would do that would involve everybody and so on. So, and there are many things that I discussed which are fundamental, which involved everybody. So don't create an impression that I don't consult, even though I show evidence that I
Minister,
do consult.
sorry to interrupt
And we
you.
did have meetings.
I didn't create any impression. I
I'm
asked
happy
you
with that.
a question. I put something to you, and then I asked you a question. I put to you that there's no indication from you, either in writing or in your oral evidence, that you ever consulted, and you haven't, still in your response now, you haven't mentioned the interministerial committee. So that is what I put to you, and that's the question I'm asking you, and you're not answering the question whether or not you consulted with your colleagues in cabinet, especially since you're a relatively new minister in that portfolio. You've got other ministers in the cabinet that form part of that committee who have been in their positions for quite a while, who could assist you, they could make an input, they could guide you. You haven't answered that question.
Yes, let me answer. There is no IMC in the 7th administration, like which featured in the 6th administration as a structure that was presiding over the steering committee and any other structure below on the political task team. It doesn't exist in the 7th administration. That is a fact. Secondly, you don't run a department like that. You don't say, just because you have your colleagues, you are going to convene a meeting to discuss any aspect of your department. You discuss in cabinet, you discuss in cabinet committees, you discuss in any other committee or whatever structure that exists. That's how government functions. Now, you can't just convene. You're not president. You can't just convene and say, you are older than me in cabinet. I want you to come and discuss with me some matter. It doesn't work like that. Now, that's number one. Number two, I have indicated that I didn't breach any law. I do want us to have an agreement or a consensus that I didn't convene a meeting with General Masimula, General Mkhwanazi, and General Kumal. Doesn't constitute an offense in the department or anywhere or in the state. It doesn't. That's why I talk about, don't impose a feeling of guilt just because I didn't have a meeting with them. It doesn't work like that. If the discussions took a different form, it then means that it took a different form. If it was not adequate in the sense that it did not go for a full day or so, then so be it. But it shouldn't be registered in this ad hoc committee that I never made any statement for the need of review for the kind of situation that exists now, even though it is written in black and white that we did make policy statements in these meetings, and I'm putting that very strongly that these matters were raised in meetings. If they were not adequate, it means that time for adequate, focused discussions on the matter would have come. Remember, when I wrote this letter, I was 5 months into a 5-year term, But it wasn't necessary. And I'm still saying, I stand by my letter, and it was legitimate, and it was proper that I raised this matter, because by then I had felt that we may even be breaching PFMA. And I needed to be able to be ready to say, when the year comes, I must be able to say, when I realized that there is that possibility, I didn't just keep quiet, even though we may be breaching the law. And that is important to me. That's important to me. So I consulted not on the disbandment, but on the need to review in whatever. But there were matters, as I say, that precipitated the writing of the letter of the 21st. But I did say, even though I decided on the 31st to do it, there were matters that couldn't allow me to consult on the basis of the risk that I explained yesterday. Because if I said this is one of the factors that are making me reach this decision, I couldn't discuss that at that time with them. I needed a particular platform, and this platform is one of those, and the platform in the commission is one of those appropriately created platforms where we can then discuss these matters which concern other people who are affected by matters in the political killings task team. And I'm happy with the two platforms, that they offer us a full spectrum. So I'm saying, don't reach any conclusion on the matter, because you haven't heard it all until everything that has been concluded is there. But I am saying very strongly, even if there was no full day, even if there was no meeting with the 3 generals that you are talking about, there were policy statements that were made in those 2 meetings. And they conveyed very clearly what my intentions as minister was. Clearly, beyond any doubt, that I wanted a review, and it is based on work that was started in 2019, very clear. And I have shown that you couldn't have a double, you couldn't have a structure that you intend implementing, which caters for the work of the political killings task team, but still have the political killings task team. You can't say so. You can't have that. It would be irrational. In fact, if I would have been called to account, I wouldn't be able to account. Why do you keep this team when you have a structure that you are supposed to be implementing, which you could have implemented long ago? You don't implement it, but you just keep. And why do you keep a team that deals with matters of a limited category of people in South Africa?
Minister,
when the
please.
majority of people are being killed there, you don't have the same specialization. You can't do that.
With due respect, you've made the point. You made the point. Some of us may even agree with you. Some of us may even agree with you that, it should be, your resources should be spread not only evenly, but equally, so that all our citizens are protected in the same way. We may even agree with you, but we're talking about a specific matter here, a task team that was established, they say in accordance with the law. For the first time, you come and your lawyers come and say, actually, that team since 2022 was an unlawful structure. That's open to debate. We're not sitting as a court of law. We'll debate it. We've heard you. I've asked you about the interministerial committee. The short answer after your long answer now has been, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Under the 7th administration, it doesn't. So maybe you can tell us when or where, or in some cabinet committee meeting, or where this initiative of the president has now been abandoned. Maybe you can provide that to the committee. Our focus, so the short answer is that you didn't consult your colleagues. You say you've just been a few months into the position. One would have thought that's even more reason
I
why
didn't-
you should have consulted your colleagues.
No,
Because
I didn't have to
can I
consult them.
speak? Just because one of the most important aspects, not only of the political killings task team, but of other specialist dedicated teams, is working together in a multidisciplinary way, which most people seem to accept is the most effective way of dealing with crime, is in a multidisciplinary way, and the contribution that a dedicated prosecutor plays in that role. Because that's one of the important things that that the task team established. They have a prosecutor who directs and says, no, I think you need more evidence here. I think you need to get a statement from that one there. That is all directed by the prosecutor so that the case comes to court quicker, and when it does come to court, the case is ready for trial. Now, let me move on from that. I think I've got the answer that I asked you for, and the honourable members have heard your response, and if they want to take it further, they'll get the opportunity. Now, is it also your evidence that a number of task teams, and I'm asking you, the foreign vehicle task team, the multi-trio task team, the kidnapping and ransom team, the extortion team, the counterintelligence task team, the anti-gang task team, the cash in transit task team, this is called the knockout team. Oh yes, sorry, before I make light of it, they seem to be an important, they concentrate on illicit mining, so maybe it's the Zamas and all that. The narcotics task team, the provincial tracing task team, and I think, yeah, the illegal mining task team. These task teams, do you accept they not on the organogram? Either.
Where are you reading from? Because
I'm reading from the Murray study, the 2024 study, which you'll find next to your statement.
no, they are in the
SM2.
they are in the organogram. But I have said the aim of the study group, of the study, the work study, was to reconfigure these standalone task teams which they criticized and said, let us have a form of integration which is reflected in the new structure. And I pointed at two main units. We don't call them, remove task teams, integrate them into units. And there are two units. They are called, one, serious and violent crimes, and which is murder and robbery. And there's a list there, it's reconfigured. And then there's organized crime unit. We're talking units now. We're not talking series of task teams, this team. It's integrated into units, which get to be part of the organogram, which gets to be budgeted for properly.
Okay. Is your answer, firstly, do you agree it is not on the approved structure which you showed us yesterday? This is the approved structure that was on the board, on the screen.
Is there no gang unit there? Anti-gang unit?
There is, under serious and violent crimes,
Yes.
there's murder and robbery, there's stock theft, there is vehicle crime, and there is taxi violence. That's under serious and violent. Then under organized crime, firearms, economic and illicit mining, there's extortion, there's narcotics, there's transnational, and there's anti-gang.
Yes.
So my
It
question
is there, as you read.
Yes. So my question was, are all these specialist task teams, are they accommodated in this structure?
Yes, but in
Or
a
are they, I
reconfigured.
also want to be fair to you.
Yes.
Are they or are they, because it seems to be your answer also, they integrated into this structure?
Yes, that's the answer.
Okay. So let me come to the question I actually want to ask you. So does that mean that the only specific task team that was disestablished was the political killings task team?
Plus a unit called Inspectorate so far.
And I'm looking at the list that is on page 103 of the Marais study of 2024, which is annexure SM2 to your statement. It starts at page 93. Yeah.
So I want to go back. Your earlier question, yes, all these teams that you were reading, unless integrated specifically, they are returning. They are in the new structure. They may be called exactly as they were called in what you were reading or called others, but they are now integrated in the main under a unit called serious and violent crimes. That's number one. And the neighbor, in terms of functionality on the ground of the structure, their neighbor is organized crime. It is there. They work in tandem. But I want to add another feature. You know, there's DPCI, whose main core business is to deal with organized crime in South Africa. So we must guard against overlapping into DPCI. DPCI deals with, I think, 4 and 5 degree crimes. That is serious crimes. And subs deal with first degree, second degree, I think, and third degree, and they share. So there's sharing of responsibilities of organized crime between subs in that form and DPCI, which is a subs component, very important component on organized crime in South Africa. So if you have DPCI, that is the Hawks, dealing and created specifically to deal with serious organized crime, but at higher degrees. And then you have ourselves, reconfiguring ourselves in the manner that we have done so, even catering with first and second degree of violent crimes. Why would you have the serious, political killings task team? Why would you have a team? Why would you won't be able to justify it? And also looking at that, it focuses in KZN, and it doesn't focus in one day. We had a meeting, I think, in this room. The honorable member of the portfolio committee of police, Honorable James. For some time we couldn't talk because she raised her voice beyond anything that was alive here, even closing the chair of the portfolio committee. So we had to sit up straight and listen. I didn't treat it as noise. I treated it as a very, very grieving voice, let alone a very grieving voice from a member of parliament.
Yeah, no, she's
Directed to me,
very passionate
that I'm not doing enough and I need to answer. And this is the way I'm saying I'm answering. And one day she will see that I was serious when I said I'm addressing the matter. It may take time, and those people who are dying in the Cape Flats, they will know one day that we are taking those matters seriously. And we can't do that via the political killings task team. I'm honest with that. We've got to respond in this fashion. And I'm confident that we will respond. We are responding properly once this structure is implemented,
Okay.
supervised by us.
So can I move on from there and ask you, put this to you. After the directive was issued, the National Commissioner responded to you on the 22nd, not quite the 20th, which you required him to respond by, the 22nd, and he responded to you, you wanted a report. And in that report, he still doesn't tell you, Honourable Minister, I hereby acknowledge receipt of your directive of 31 December 2024. I agree with you, I disagree with you, I'm going to close the political task team. He doesn't say that at all. You will remember, I don't think because of time, we need to go over his response. We've dealt with it in this committee. His evidence is there, what he said. But in essence, what he says is this is going to be not closed down immediately, but it's going to be phased out. To be fair, he doesn't say to you, Minister, I've got a problem with your directive. I don't think you had the power or authority to do so. I dispute it or I challenge you. He deals with it and he says, this is the plan. But he also points out the successes of the team. So that's on the 22nd of January. Then there is the meeting. In the meantime, just for the record, and if you want to respond, you can respond. In the meantime, Mkhwanazi sends you a WhatsApp on the 4th of April. And I think it's on page 51, it's EB5, and it's in Exhibit Bundle 3. And I mentioned this, we don't need to debate it because I want to get to the Portfolio Committee of the 5th of March. He said on the 5th, have you got it in front of you?
You can read, I know.
Sorry, the Mkhwanazi's WhatsApp to you on the 5th of April. It is in Exhibit Bundle 3, and it's EB5 at page 51.
Yeah, you can go on.
Okay.
Senator Council.
He says, Sawubona, Minister. You're both from KZN.
No, you can move on.
So it says, Sawubona, Minister. Please forgive for writing this message directly, but I feel that I must respectfully request a meeting in order to deal with internal issues within our organization, which affects me and my family, and has a potential of destabilizing our crime-fighting efforts. I tried to reach out through Ngabindi in his private capacity early in January this year, and later I spoke to him in his capacity as Chief of Staff. And again, I had a special request to the National Commissioner to try and secure the meeting before our appearance before the Portfolio Committee and Police. This situation is escalating, and it has a potential of demoralizing our hard-working members, and there are even politicians that are using these social media posts to sow divisions within the SAPS. I do not like what's happening, hence I feel that the Minister must call us into a meeting.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic to the time. I acknowledge the letter. I have it. What you read.
Can I just finish reading it?
Oh, okay.
So that we can iron out everything that is dominating the media space. I do not like, it is my plea that the Minister calls the National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Sabia, Lieutenant General Kumalo, myself, Major General Khan, Mr. Nkabinde, and Mr. Brown Mahotsi in order to get to the bottom of the problem. It is the prerogative of the Minister to invite the Executive Director, IPID, if he feels it necessary. I have requested to take a vacation leave tomorrow and Friday, but I can make time if the Minister decides to meet this week. I hope my request will be favorably received, I take it. And then your response, this is your response. Your WhatsApp message was received, will revert at some point.
Okay. You have asked me two questions, General Masimula's response and the request by General Mkonas. Then let me respond. Let me start with General Mkonas. I received this, I confirm. I read it, I confirm. I responded to him, I confirm. Now, I started by asking myself, what kind of a structure is this? I was alone. I think we don't have a structure like this in subs. Doesn't exist. Where you call the National Commissioner Sbia Kumalo, you call Mkhotsi, you don't have it. I've been working as an executive for quite some time, provincial and otherwise. You can't call a meeting like this. I couldn't call it.
So why did you ignore it? Because there is no such a structure.
I'm not complete. I haven't completed my response. I took a decision that I wouldn't call a meeting like this because I wouldn't know what do I call it? It can't be done. You can't do so as a minister. You can't. As a matter of principle, you can't do it.
Even if it raises clearly serious concerns. Why couldn't you tell him, okay, Mkonazi, I'm not going to convene this meeting that you request because there is no such a structure. But I will meet with you. I will talk to you. You tell him you will revert, but you say, yeah, you will revert at some point. And the point is you never did.
Now, read the first paragraph properly. It says, please forgive me for writing this message directly, but I feel I must respectfully request a meeting in order to deal with internal issues within our organization, which affects me and my family, and has a potential of destabilizing our crime-fighting efforts.
Yes, a very respectful meeting. It doesn't, it's not a demand. He's
Now, let me
requesting
respond,
a meeting.
Senior Counsel. I'm saying as a matter of principle, I couldn't convene a meeting like that, where I invite Brown Mkhotsi, who is outside the organization, who is not part of internal organization if our organization means subs, which is my interpretation. Then I call somebody and they say, come and let us discuss internal issues. But secondly, General Mkonazi says there are matters that are affecting him and his family. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to have a meeting in terms of response here, to have a meeting with him alone to say, what is the aspect that affects you and your family in the work of the organization and so on, before I could convene a meeting. But generally, on this one, I wouldn't do so. I wouldn't invite Mkhotsi in a meeting where I'm meeting the generals of SAPS.
So why, Minister, why didn't you just tell him?
I
I will revert to you, but you should know. We cannot discuss matters of the importance that you raise with private third parties or private citizens. So yes, I will call a meeting, but it will exclude Mkhotsi or anyone else that's not an officer that serves in the South African police.
That would
have been a better response.
It would have come in a meeting that when I rationalized properly after responding to him, that no, the best thing to do is to call General Mkonazi alone and we meet and we discuss this to say, in order to respond with integrity on your WhatsApp, there must be a particular way, but it would definitely exclude Brown Mkhutsi. But I want to have a meeting with you alone so that you can give an indication of what you want me to discuss. That's what happened. Now, so as a principle, let's separate that. But my thought was I would have a meeting with him so that he could take me to confidence to discuss this matter. Now, this message came on the 5th of April. Okay. But by the 5th of April, a lot of other things had already happened, and they happened, even though I responded in the manner that I responded. And I meant to respond properly to General Mkhwanazi in terms of just respecting that he sent me an SMS and I undertook to meet him. But in the meantime, parallel to those things, a lot of things happened. Now, let me come to those things. Firstly, when I wrote a letter, I mean, when there was a leak on my letter, and General Mkhwanazi, this letter, I mean, these directives landed on him. He responded in a particular way. And it was either on the 2nd or 3rd of January. That is before this WhatsApp came. When he responds to the Chief of Staff, one of the things that the Chief of Staff did was to phone me to say, Minister, General Mkhwanazi is in possession of the letter. Apparently the letter leaked and so on, because I heard it from him, Chief of Staff, that there was this letter leaked. So it says it leaked. Oh, okay. Then he says, hey, but Minister, he's very angry. He's angry about what? About your letter, not about the leak, about the letter. How is General Mkhwanazi angry about my letter to the National Commissioner, which has been leaked to him, but it is going to the National Commissioner? Minister, is very angry. Oh, so what is he saying? Yes, well, a number of things that came, but I'm going to just summarize.
This is Kambeni.
Kabinda talking to me
not you.
about his conversation with General Mkhwanazi in response to my letter, to the leaked letter.
And when is this? This must be in early January.
It's early January, Senior Council.
So this is before the the
It's
WhatsApp
before
request
this.
for a meeting.
Yes. It says it's angry. Okay. Further to that, he is saying the minister must withdraw this letter. He's talking to my Chief of Staff. Withdraw the letter. Yes, the letter of directives. Why? He is angry. He is angry. That was the running message to me. Oh, okay. Let me just pause and think about anger and say something about anger. When you are angry about a particular situation, my take is that there could be somebody else who is also angry, but you may not be in touch with those people or that person. So you may not know the weight of anger of the other people in relation to your weight of anger. So it's just a natural thing that will affect somebody's feelings and you'll react in a particular way, but it can't be policy of a country. It can't instruct, it can't guide the minister that somebody is angry somewhere because of what, and then you say you must shape your thoughts according to the anger of somebody, because somebody else may be less angry or even more angry.
Yes, sir.
So it's a very difficult. So let me go on. So it says angry. Okay. And he says, withdraw. You need to withdraw.
That's what Kambindi tells you.
That is what Nkabinde tells me.
When Nazi
Withdraw
told
the
him.
letter. It's quite strong. Number three, I'm in a long conversation over days because I'm summarizing. He then says beyond that, if the minister doesn't withdraw, there's going to be a fight back. A fight back. And I underlined that term. It means that it would be a fight back directed to me as the writer of the letter. A fight back. Why would General Mkhonazi want a fight back? What attack? What was the war about?
We had a taste of it on the 6th of July. Isn't
Pardon?
it? We had a taste of it on the 6th of July when he had the media briefing.
On underlining that fight back that he is said to have mentioned as a term to Mkhonazi, I then said, well, let's see, Chief of Staff, let's watch the space and see what's going to happen. And if you want me to jump to July, I would say to you, that event of July was triggered by my letter of the 31st of November, because I didn't know what the fight back would be about, what it would entail, what form it would take. But it did inform me about what could be his feelings and intentions to fight back. That minister has written directives to the national commissioner, and a provincial commissioner wants a fight back, and that he wants the minister to withdraw the letter. And one of the things that was racing in my mind, how does this affect General Mkhonazi to a point where he would say he wants there's going to be fight back? But let me pass that because we need to move faster.
Yeah, because this is what Nkambindi tells you. This general is very angry. He's talking about a fight back. He wants the directive withdrawn, and then.
So I'm moving on.
Yes, and then are you still trying to contextualize your response or lack of response to his WhatsApp on the 4th of April, which is what I asked you about? He requests this meeting.
When I responded to you, I said, before and after he wrote the letter, there were a lot of other things, and I'm outlining those. Okay, I'm not trying, I'm doing so. So the next term that came, or information that Nkabinde brought, was that he's making a lot of calls in this regard to say, have you spoken to the minister, and have you informed the minister, or have you conveyed the message, and so on and so on. But out of all these things, I underlined anger, and I underlined fight back. Now, in fact, there is a tape recording which I had requested to be made of part of the conversation of him, of Chief of Staff and Cabinet. I don't know whether they prepared it so that you can hear directly on your own that recording. I don't know whether it is.
No. My colleague, Ms. Sikalala, is just listening to it. That's why, Honorable Chair, she's
Okay.
excused herself. And
Well-
we will play it shortly.
Yeah, I would say on a lighter note, Senior Counsel, that's what happens when you prepare. In my conversations with the office, it was going to be read and made ready. Now, when I want it, it is not there. The questions that you fired to me, that there's something that is not there in my preparation, but it is there in my evidence. It happened exactly the way it has happened to you. But I'm saying this on a lighter note.
So
I want
what's your score now, like 1-1? You didn't prepare, I didn't prepare.
No, I'm just saying on
We're
a
not
lighter
doing as well as Bafana.
Senekals. No, but I want to go on.
I think we got the audio
Okay.
this morning. So it's a bit short notice, but anyway, just before the game started, you know.
Okay. Let me move on. So it shapes your thinking because you are now sitting up straight. What are you sitting up straight for is fight back between General Mkhonazi, who is provincial commissioner.
So just while we wait for the audio and before we play it, did that inform your response on the 4th of August that you had now previously been told, in fact, even heard the kind of anger of Lieutenant General Mkhonazi? Did that inform your response by say, look, I've received, but I'll revert to you shortly.
No, it got to my environment, but I can't respond in that particular way. It just got into my environment. Now, let me move on.
Sorry, Minister, Chair, can we just take a very short break? I just want to discuss this audio because, Minister, I take it you would prefer the audio to be played before we carry on.
Yes, just a brief thing. I think there are aspects that I think the ad hoc committee would need as part of my evidence.
Honorable Chair, can we just have a very, very short?
Yeah, I want you to note that you have requested, the two of you have requested these honorable members to give you 2 days. And they have gracefully given you the 2 days. When we come back, we are going to play the video, the evidence material, and then from there, for sure, 20 or 30 minutes later, we are going to take a comfort break. When we come back from break, you should be moving towards concluding today's session. That is my request to you.
So to break now for 30 minutes, which is inclusive of preparing.
If we break now, it means you will no longer have another break. It will lead us to the end of the session. So the session that we are going to have after break cannot go beyond 2 hours. Yeah.
So, sorry, Chair. Shall we just break now for half an hour?
Look,
And then from there we're going to
whatever
go on
arrangement
until 2:30.
you want to go into is between you and the witness. Make that arrangement that is in the interest of these members who have given you 2 days to do everything and conclude.
So perhaps let's just have the half an hour break, and when we come back, we will continue until 2:30.
Yeah, you know why I'm saying this. Yourself and the minister must help us. We have taken a lot of time on this PKTT matter. If you can help us, where you just need a short answer, let's get that short answer and move forward.
No, it's not a short answer, but the request from the minister, which I'm inclined to agree we should grant, is that we should play this audio conversation, discussion, whatever you want to call it, between Mkhonazi and Kabende, because it's important context for the minister's response.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that where a straightforward answer is needed, that answer should be given.
Well, maybe you've got the power to direct. You can give a directive.
No, I
That
can't,
the-
I can't.
that the minister must
I
give
can't-
short answers.
I can't encroach. You are the one who is leading
Yeah,
evidence.
no, I've invited a response, and the response from the minister, which I entirely think is reasonable.
What I heard from you is that now the score is 1-1. So may you please announce what you want to see happening now, so that when we come back, we know that.
If we can all agree to break for half an hour, when we come back, and we'll play the audio,
We come back at 12:30. We can't go beyond 2:00.
as you please, Chair.
Thank you so much. Honorable members who are taking a 30 minutes comfort break.
and what is going on now.